And now I give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as this is the first time that my delegation addresses the Security Council during your presidency, Madam, permit me to begin by congratulating you. Madam President, you and your delegation on assuming the responsibility for the month of May. I wish you, Madam, every success in your leadership. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Ambassador Keaton and Ambassador Madeira for their briefings. Madam President, today at this session of the UN Security Council on Somalia, I would like to share with you the fact that it's also the 75th anniversary of the founding on May 15, 1943, the first political party in Somalia, the Somali Youth League, which has done much to advance the Somali cause. Indeed, the Youthful Party was singularly instrumental in achieving the independence and the unity of Somali people in 1960, and in the process helped to create one of Africa's first democracies. The optimism and hope created by the Somali Youth League nearly a century ago is also a major source of our current optimism in achieving peace and prosperity, thus leading toward resurgent Somalia. On this occasion, I also would like to share with you the sad news of the passing away at age 89, Ambassador Abdurrahman Abi Farah, one of our most prominent Somali diplomats, who served as the Somali's permanent representative to the United Nations, who also held several high-level positions at the United Nations. I take this opportunity to also send our thoughts and prayers to his family and the Somali people around the world. Madam President, we believe supporting and safeguarding hard-earned political stability is a prerequisite for a long road ahead in terms of security, economic development, and recovery. In the current Secretary General's report about the political situation, we have concern with some inclusions of some inaccurate statements which can jeopardize the legitimacy of the government as well as our national reconstruction effort. While the report covers most of the development that have occurred in the period under the review, we suggest there is a room for more adequate address on the political progress and development on the ground. But we are happy to note that the Parliament's tension mentioned in the current report were resolved. This is a clear testimony to the resilience of the Somali people and their capacity to absorb political shocks and engage in peaceful and durable and democratic solutions while respecting their parliamentary rules and procedures as well as our constitution. Madam President, just over a year ago, President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo joined the international partners at the London Somali Conference and made a steadfast commitment to accelerate the progress on the security sector reform and set security as a priority for his administration. Since the last meeting of this council, tangible progress has been made on this commitment. Somalia has developed a realistic, phased and condition-based transition plan, working closely and collaboratively with AMISOM, troop contributing countries, and police contributing countries, the UN, EU, as well as other key partners. This process was inclusive and comprehensive and included field consultations to incorporate the perspective of local stakeholders, including federal member states. The transition plan has been endorsed by the Cabinet, Somali Cabinet, and by the AU Peace and Security Council, and sets the strategic guidelines that will enable detailed planning over the next few years. It lays particular focus on the international capacity, institutional capacity building of our forces, while at the same time outlining the necessary security operations and supporting stabilization efforts. As we prepare for the transition plan, I take this opportunity to thank TCC and BCC nations that contributed their forces for their honorable and courageous sacrifices. The support provided by United Nations to AMISOM has to be also acknowledged and must be continued in order to keep the momentum. My government welcomes the appointment of Ambassador Lisa Filipetto of Australia as head of the United Nations Support Office in Somalia, UNSOS. The gains made by AMISOM and other national armed forces against Al-Shabaab over the past year are astonishing. Nonetheless, we recognize that Al-Shabaab will not be defeated by military means alone. Stabilization efforts undertaken with the support of our international partners are just as critical in helping us address the root cause of fragility and conflict in our communities. It's our firm belief that our credibility and legitimacy as a government hinges on our ability to promote social reconciliation, good governance, and providing public services to help improve the lives of our citizens. We know Somali National Army is faced with the challenges, but we believe that the only way to implement the transition is to commit SNA to undertake joint operations with AMISOM with the support of our international partners. This will be in order to acquire the requisite experience, self-confidence, and capacity to undertake major operations and eventually assume the responsibility of the security of the whole country. President Formaggio and Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khaire are sparing no effort to reconcile the people of Somalia and provide a national vision that will enhance further national unity and reconciliation. The transitional plan, therefore, will become the central piece of the security sector reform in Somalia, as it is rooted in our national security architecture, which is closely interlinked with the President's two other priorities, inclusive politics and economic reforms. Following the World Bank and IMF spring meeting of this year, 2018, in Washington, D.C., we, the federal government of Somalia, are now closer than ever in our efforts to normalize our relations with international financial institutions and on a pathway to eventual debt relief. Meanwhile, on the political front, the federal government of Somalia, together with the federal member states, continue to work to implement an ambitious political roadmap that includes the revision of the provisional constitutions and the preparation for the next election in 2020, which will require renewed focus of the Parliament in the swift passage of key legislations that are currently pending. We believe that the peaceful election of the new Speaker in the Parliament will enable this process to advance the legislative agenda. Madam President, I now like to return to give the statement made by my President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, on the unfortunate flare-up of hostilities in Tukaraq and El Afweyne in Sol regions of Somali Republic. In this connection, the President appealed to all concerned parties to stop all hostilities with immediate effect. President Farmajo urged leaders and elders and civil societies to negotiate for peace and an agreeable coexistence to resolve the difference through dialogue and the respect of sanctity of life. He also expressed his deep regret about the loss of the Somali life in this recent conflict and sent his heartfelt condolences to the families affected and praised for the quick recovery of the wounded. Madam President, to conclude, Somalia challenges remain significant, including our vulnerability to extreme weather, the long-term demands of state building, and tackling an active and vicious terrorist groups. This requires long-term work to address structural, political, and legacy issues of corruption from the lack of oversight and accountability and in the status quo, and building and resourcing legitimate institutions. But we are on the right path, and the continued support of this council will enable us to continue to make progress and to shift the perception of Somalia from decline to growth and from weakness to resilience. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of Somalia for his